the automatic response to a problem or a conflict is to blame everyone and everything other than ourselves. It's so easy when shit goes wrong to be like, well, it's because they did this, or, well, it's because this happened. It's not very automatic to run into a problem and immediately ask, hey, did this problem arise or did this conflict happen because I did something wrong too? It's not an intuitive response to problems or conflicts. I think this is because a lot of times we make decisions about how we handle certain situations with good intentions. It's not very often that we purposely fuck up in some way. You know, usually we're all just trying to do the right thing. But there are definitely times where we think we're doing the right thing, but we're not actually doing the right thing, whether we know it deep down or not. For the last few years, I've been really working on asking myself if I'm the problem. Hey, is there any chance that maybe I'm the problem? And the reason why this conflict happened or the reason why this problem arose in my life is because I actually did something wrong. I've been really working on this because it is not something that comes naturally. What comes naturally is to start pointing fingers. And to be honest, it's a lot more fun to point fingers. Okay. It's actually quite fun to just start pointing fingers and start blaming everything on everyone else and everything else. It's easier. It creates gossip, which can be fun at times. It makes us feel like we're in the power position. It kind of puts us into a place where we're the victim in a way, which can be a much more comfortable place to be than, you know, being in the place of the one who fucked up. But I truly believe that life gets better when we get into a habit of asking ourselves if we are the problem. Think of it like this. When someone else messes up in your eyes, a lot of times they can't immediately comprehend what they did wrong because in the moment they thought that what they did was right and fair. A lot of times when you confront someone, they'll have a hard time understanding what they did at first because they didn't have bad intentions and they're sort of blind to their shortcomings. The same thing can happen to you. The roles can be reversed, where you had good intentions, you thought you were doing the right thing, but turns out maybe you weren't. And maybe you too are blind to your shortcomings. Now, the thing about asking yourself if you are the problem is that there are going to be moments when you are not the problem. You did the right thing, truly. And there was nothing you could have possibly done better. It's true that, you know, someone else or something else is responsible for the problem or conflict that occurred. You know, you're not always going to discover that you played a role in things going wrong. But it's interesting because what you may discover is that more often than not, you did play a little role in things going wrong. Definitely not every time, but more than you might expect, actually. And that's why I think it's so valuable to make it a habit to reflect on what role you play in problems and conflicts in your life and to not ignore your role, because it's so easy to just ignore your role and ignore what you've done, you know? Okay, so let's discuss some examples of moments where you may fail to ask yourself if you're the problem. Most commonly during an argument. The thing about arguing is that there's a lot of ego involved, okay? During an argument, both people or all people involved are vulnerable because all people involved have a chance of losing and their thoughts, beliefs, actions are being questioned. And if it ends up being decided that you're wrong in an argument, you're left feeling humiliated. You're left feeling powerless. you're left feeling like you've lost respect in a way, like, everybody's lost respect for you. It can feel like a lot's on the line during an argument because you're like, oh my God, if I lose, not only am I going to lose respect for myself a little bit, but also other people are going to lose respect for me. And, I'm going to come out of this in a pretty shitty position. And I'll just be embarrassed, which is not a pleasant feeling. It can feel like there's so much on the line in an argument that your determination to win can cause you to become blind to your own shortcomings. A lot of times arguing becomes more about who wins than about who was actually right, or who actually did the right thing, or who actually was wronged. It starts to become just about winning. It becomes more of a game than actually a means to truly solve the problem and come out the other side a better person. Because in theory, arguing should humble both parties and allow both parties to grow. But that's usually not what happens, because it becomes all about winning as a way to protect yourself from potential humiliation or powerlessness. I think during every argument, it is crucial to ask yourself if maybe you're wrong. But a lot of times we don't do that because we're so caught up in the heat of an argument that we cannot possibly break through the brick wall that we've built in our mind that prevents us from asking ourselves if we fucked up or we were wrong. And we're just stuck defending our argument, and there's no thought to even reflect on ourselves at all. It just becomes about arguing. And that doesn't get anybody anywhere.